Hello, boys and girls. We are going to continue to work on dividing today, and just like yesterday's lesson, where we really looked at where to start dividing in a number, because sometimes we noticed that we couldn't start in our largest place value. Over the next week, we're going to make sure we keep applying that strategy because we won't always get to start where we want to. In today's numbers, though, for the most part, you will be able to start right in that first place value. So we don't need to worry too much about that strategy yet today. So let's start with our word problem. We're going to be focused on using that does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers? So it says Swanee is packing t-shirts and shorts into boxes to put away for the winter. There are 42 items to pack. She packs the same number of items into 3 boxes. How many items does Swanee pack in each box? Now we know she's putting the same number into a box, and we don't know how many are going into each box. So since we have a total and we have the number of groups and we don't know how many are in each group, that tells us that we need to divide, and we are doing 42 divided by 3. Okay, so because we're starting with a total and working to a part, we know we need to divide. So I'm going to rewrite our problem in our house and put our does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers off to the side here. Okay, and we start. Now remember, we look at that biggest place value first all the time to look, and I think, well, 3 can go into 4, so that does divide. It goes in only once. I can multiply that. 1 times 3 is 3. I can subtract. 4 minus 3 is 1. I check. 1 is less than 3. We're good there. I see over here that I have a 2 to bring down, so I'm going to bring that down. And I start all over again. So now I'm going to be dividing 3 into 12. I know 3 can go into 12 because if I think to myself, well, 3 times 4 is, in fact, 12. So there's kind of my divide and multiply in one step. Now I subtract. 12 minus 12 is 0. There's my subtraction. I check. 0 is less than 3. And then there's nothing left to bring down. And I don't need to bring my 0 up when there's a 0. So I don't need to worry about that for my remainder. So how many items does she put into each box? 14 items. Okay. So in this case, we were able to start in our biggest place value, the tens, and we had to repeat our does McDonald's sell cheeseburger twice to get through our problem. Let's look at another problem that helps us get through this. Clear all? All right. Let's look at 85 divided by 5. Okay. Let's get our does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers. Okay, so I'm looking at this problem, and I'm always going to start in that first place value first, just to think, well, can 5 go into 8? And it can, but it can only go in once. If I went in twice, it would be too big. So there's my division. 1 times 5 is 5. There's my multiplying. When I subtract, 8 minus 5 is 3. I check. 3 is less than 5, so we're good there. I look for my bring down. I have a 5 here to bring down, so I'm going to bring that down. All right. Now we're starting here again. Now we're doing 5 into 35. Well, if we think of our 5 facts, 5 can go into 35 7 times. There's my division. 7 times 5 is 35. There's my multiply. I'm going to subtract. 35 minus 35 is 0. There's my subtraction. I check. 0 is less than 5. We're good. I have nothing left to bring down, and I do not need to worry about bringing up a 0, so we are done. So when we are dividing, if you've noticed a 2-digit number, and you start in the largest place value, the tens, you're most likely going to end up with a 2-digit quotient or answer. Okay? if we had to start, if you remember yesterday, in another place value to start dividing, our quotient was actually a little bit smaller or less a digit. So in this case, we are looking at starting and dividing into that first place value. Let me get our practice problem set up on the screen for you. This is what you're going to be doing on your paper tonight. So you're going to be doing 87 divided by 3 on your paper tonight. Make sure you get this all set up with the Does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers so that you keep those steps correct. And I will give you one hint. You will start dividing in the tens. That 3 will go into the 8 when you get started. All right, thank you, boys and girls.